Good evening, visitors, and welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Dan Hiscock, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Boyd Schrader. We warmly welcome Wing Commander Bob Howe, retired, representing the Air Force Association. And as always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Hilton Hardcastle Forden, who was killed during the Second World War. Hilton Forden was born on the 1st of October 1923 in Adelaide to George and Hilda Forden. His father had served in France during the First World War with the 1st Australian Casualty Clearing Station, returning home safely and working as a managing director. The family later moved to New South Wales, and Hilton attended Mowbray House School in Sydney and Newcastle Boys High School. He was fond of tennis and swimming and was a member of his high school's cadet corps. After leaving school, he studied part-time with the Newcastle Business College, taking typing, shorthand and bookkeeping classes. When Forden was 18 years old and working in Newcastle as a junior clerk, he enlisted in the Royal Australian Air Force on the 12th of September 1942. He trained as an air gunner and in June 1943 was made sergeant. On the 6th of July, Forden embarked for overseas service from Brisbane, arriving in the United Kingdom in August. As part of the Empire Air Training Scheme, he was one of almost 27,500 Royal Australian Air Force pilots, navigators, wireless operators, air gunners and flight engineers who throughout the course of the war joined the Royal Air Force squadrons or Australian squadrons based in Britain. Further specialist training followed in England, and in December he was promoted to Flight Sergeant. On the 10th of April 1944, he was posted to number 467 Squadron, Royal Australian Air Force. As part of Bomber Command, the squadron flew the 4-engined Avro Lancaster heavy bomber. Forden was the air gunner with the crew of an aircraft known as Naughty Nan. They were close, and Forden often wrote to his family of the great friendship among them. After some technical issues in their early missions, they composed a satirical poem about their aircraft. We are the crew of the Naughty Nan, and though we do the best we can, we always seem in trouble's way with gremlins at their wicked play. The engines stop, electrics fail, we do much better with a sail. The turrets always seem to tire of going round and never fire. So it's out to the wash and drop the load to scare the fish in their abode. Another target, failed to prang, another bloody boomerang. On the 3rd of May, shortly before 10 p.m, the crew of the Naughty Nan took off for an attack against the village of May-le-Camp. It was believed that a German Panzer division was encamped there on its way to the coast. The night was well lit, and the Luftwaffe shot down 42 bombers, including Naughty Nan. Having completed its mission, the aircraft was on its way home when it was attacked by an enemy fighter. The aircraft caught fire and the pilot instructed the crew to bail out. Only Flight Sergeants Stanley Jolly and Robert Hunter managed to do so safely. The plane crashed near the village of Dreux-Sainte-Marie, and those killed in the crash with Flight Sergeant Forden were Australians Pilot Officer Colin Dixon and Flight Sergeant Oscar Furness, British Sergeants Philip Weaver and Horace Skellhorn. Flight Sergeant Jolly was helped onto a local train by a local and made it back to England, while Flight Sergeant Hunter was cared for by members of the resistance before being taken to hospital with extensive burns. When the Americans liberated the area, he was sent back to the United Kingdom. 5 bodies were recovered from the wreckage and interred in communal graves in the Dreux-Sainte-Marie Cemetery and the Saint-Remy Communal Cemetery. Hilton Forden now rests in the Saint-Remy-sous-Babouis churchyard under the inscription, "His duty fearlessly and nobly done, ever remembered." He was 20 years old. Forden was dearly missed by his family, and though it was probable that he had been killed by the fighter plane before the crash, his father long held on to the hope that his son had somehow survived. For many years, George Forden wrote and visited to comfort the families of Hilton's crewmates and sent money to their children at Christmas time. Flight Sergeant Hilton Forden's name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Hilton Hardcastle Forden, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over, but in Australia they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.